What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Mi Casa es Su Casa on American Freedom Radio. As usual, I want to give a shout out to AFR or American Freedom Radio. If you do not follow them, I strongly encourage you to follow them on Twitter, Facebook, visit their websites. Of course, you can always find my weekly episodes there, but you can also find some other great and fantastic investigative journalists, political pundits, people who do have the same goals and aim as I do, which is to bring you the truth, the unmitigated and objective truth. Also, I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, the credit surgeons. If you want your credit repaired, not 3, 4, 5 years from now, but as soon as humanly possible, make sure you go to thecreditsurgeons.com. Some of the most affordable services with some of the quickest results. Also, American Freedom Radio has a new sponsor as well called Simply Clean Foods. You can go to their websites at www.simplycleanfoods.net. They have all kinds of non-GMO organic fruits and vegetables for all my vegans. They also have a very long shelf life, so people can use what they need without having to waste that food. And once again, that's Simply Clean Foods, www.simplycleanfoods.net. So, with that being said, I do want to go ahead and get started. Thanks for all of you who are already here joining. If you're listening from Facebook or Twitter, share this because we're going to have some fun tonight. We have a lot to talk about. I'm sure if you've been keeping up with my YouTube or even turning on any type of social media this week, then you definitely have seen just a crazy amount of news that has come through the pipeline. One of the first things that I want to discuss while I'm getting my other microphone for Facebook, but one of the first things I want to discuss is Anthony Rendon. And I don't know if you all know who Anthony Rendon is, but to make a long story short, this guy is the one who is single-handedly responsible for killing single-payer healthcare, universal healthcare in California. His excuse was that the bill wasn't finished, essentially. But it wasn't something that he needed to kill. It was actually something that he just needed to say, hey, before we can implement this, we have to make these changes and then bring it back. However, he lied. He has no intention on passing universal health care. He says hundreds of thousands of dollars from pharmaceutical companies. So we already know how that story ends, right? But I think what makes it even more ironic is the fact that this guy is running on universal health care. I'm not joking. Somebody from California I know somewhere has this picture, and I've seen it like 3 to 4 times. But this guy is running on universal. I mean, not like I'm talking about running full-fledged like campaigns with canvassing tools, and that is like the first thing you see on his paperwork. I'm like, yo, if any of y'all vote for this guy because of that campaign artwork or because of those campaign materials, and you deserve them, because that means you are not educated on what's going on in your state, and that's such a big issue that you deserve whatever you get. Okay, if you vote for somebody who clearly, literally, he voted not even 3 months ago to kill single payer in California, and people were like, well, maybe if we completed the bill, then we would have it fixed and repaired. Oh no, that's not true. In fact, Lawrence Steiner can attest to this. So she's an independent journalist out of California. And very astute, very well educated, very informed, and extremely active in the California political scene. She actually goes up to Anthony Reiner. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but that guy, and asks him, "Hey, why did you kill single payer?" Oh, because they needed this and this and this. So she was like, "So if I go get this, will you pass single payer?" Because Lauren, if you know Lauren, she's definitely the type of person that would do something like that. If you say, oh, if you get this and take it, that's like the kind of things that Lauren would do. And so she was like, okay, I'll do it. Are you gonna pass single payer then? And he was like, you're not going to do it. And she was like, oh, no. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And like I said, she's the type of person that is absolutely going to do it. And so he just deflected, and then he got very defensive, and then he started being very disrespectful. It was the type of disrespect that comes when you know that you're being challenged. It's probably going to end up somewhere on the internet, and you have no intentions on following through on anything that you just promised. That kind of disrespect. So, I just had to talk about that because it's such a slap in the face to progressives and to anybody involved in any type of progressive movement, but specifically the single payer universal healthcare movement. Like, you have politicians serious progressive politicians who have based their entire campaign and everything they stand for off of single payer healthcare and universal healthcare. And this guy, after destroying, I mean, when you shoot down single payer healthcare, you might as well go ahead and put a notch on your belt for somebody's life that you just took away. And I hate to be so morbid, but that's just reality. You just took away someone's diabetes medication. You just took away someone's depression medication. You just taken away. Man, look, it's real. I've worked in the medical insurance industry, and people are dying across this country. It was sad. And for him to make light or even take advantage of the fact that he knows how popular, mind you, it was like 70% of Californians wanted single payer. I mean, so they would have probably. It means that they were in such a state. They're in such a frantic state as far as healthcare is concerned. Because if you get Medi-Cal, I mean, there's like a situation where you could have all your stuff repossessed from you. So it's not like Medi-Cal is that much better, depending on your situation. So single payer is popular in California. There's a reason for that. I mean, making $60,000 in California, you may not qualify for Affordable Health Care Act, but you're pretty much that's damn near poverty. If you have $60,000 and a family in California, that's damn near poverty in California. So, of course they want single payer, and of course he would run on it, but it's just so insulting, in my opinion, that he would even think that he could get away with that. And he probably will, because some people don't educate themselves. But I think California at this point has become very dominantly progressive. And hopefully the canvassers for single payer, like the nurses, I know there's a bunch of like a nurse union or organization out there who's been educating people on single payer, and I hope they straighten that out. The next thing I want to discuss, now that I have you all's attention, this is by the way one of those times you want to share this, because it's about to get real. And what I mean by that is the Uranium 1 deal. I mean, it's like, okay, so, hey, what did I tell y'all? 2018, right? I said 2018 is going to be our year. 2018 is going to be our year. I said that. I said, I got a good feeling about 2018, y'all. I'm not a negative person. I know it seems dreary, and at times it seems hopeless. I get it. I really do. But at the end of the day, if you're negative and you swear that nothing will happen, then that kind of it stimulates complacency. You'll become complacent, and then people will be like, oh, look at them. They're not even paying attention. They expect a negative outcome. And when you expect a negative outcome, then you're not surprised by a negative outcome. You usually don't react to a negative outcome unless it affects you. However, if you are positive and you are engaged and you are paying attention, much like most of you all right now, then it is a whole different story, people. Because now people feel like they have their foot to the fire in one way or another. Let's be perfectly clear about something. 98% of politicians are full of shit. No question about that in my mind whatsoever. Not even a little one. However, pragmatism, right? I don't necessarily care why you do something as long as you do it for the good of the people. I was watching a debate with Cenk and Kyle Kalinske earlier, which I'll talk a little bit. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that later on in the show. But one thing that Kyle said is, if you make a good policy decision for a bad reason, it's hard for me to be mad at that policy decision, because if it's the overall outcome of it is good for the people, then it's perfectly fine. It's like with how we used to feel, I would say, about some of the things that would happen with like what happened to Trump when he pulled out of Syria the first time. If he pulled out of Syria because he quote unquote colluded with Russia, it didn't happen. But if that was the reason why he initially pulled out of Syria, I'm not that mad about that. I'm not gonna be that mad about that. Like, and hundreds of thousands of innocent lives saved, me being upset because he colluded with Russia. If it's a good policy, it's a good policy. I mean, we can talk about how that collusion may have affected something else in politics, but this is a good policy. It's a good policy. Maybe Bernie got paid off by a bunch of potheads during the election. Said, hey, Bernie, hey, we need you to push this ganja on these streets. We need to legalize this right now. You know, if it gets pushed, it gets pushed. Like, at this point, most of us are not stupid. We understand that the only reason that that marijuana has been approved in some areas is because corporations can control the outcome of the distribution of the wealth that comes from marijuana. We're not idiots, right? But that point withstanding, we also know maybe it's okay. It's not okay, but maybe it's worth it if we know that there are people with seizures, people with schizophrenia, people with anxiety. I mean, everybody who needs weed, people who are in prison wrongfully, things like that. If they have better lives, we can tackle the corporations later, but one thing at a time. And so that's how I feel about the current political atmosphere is you have to take the good with the bad with the good, but do not stop fighting because it seems insurmountable, because it's not, people. We cannot place these corrupt criminals like above us in such a way that they're like, I don't want to say deities, but like that's kind of how we think about them at times. It's like they're like deities that are untouchable, and people, everybody has self-interest. And the one thing that you can bet on is that when it comes to politicians, they are the most weak-minded, malleable people on the planet. It's not an exaggeration. They make a living off of compromising. Okay? I'll tell you, I'm going to be the worst president. Half the world going to probably think I'm a dictator. They're going to be like, are you sure you want to pass that executive order for marijuana? Yeah. Well, shouldn't we talk to Congress about it? For what? Why we need to talk about that? I'm a malleable person within reason. I'm not going to be a malleable person when I run for office. Like, if I become a senator or whatever, it's not going to happen. But that's the difference between people like myself and most politicians. Like, they're malleable. Their whole lives, they've been able to finesse their way to success. Look at your Cory Bookers. Hillary Clinton has convinced people for a long time. I went to an Ivy League school. Doesn't that make me smart? No, it doesn't. And anybody who's went to an Ivy League school knows that the degree where you got your school from does not necessarily make you intelligent, okay? Especially when it comes to Ivy League schools, because they have this thing called grade inflation. And essentially, they make sure that you can't fail because it makes them look bad if their graduate rate is low and that they have a bunch of Fs on people's report cards. So they make it look like they're smarter than what they actually are. But they're malleable, so they snitch. Politicians are very malleable, so they will snitch. They will connive their way to the top. They will screw people over to get there. They will screw their friends over to get there. And when you screw enough people on the way, the chickens come to roost. Ask Jordan Sheraton about that. I'm just saying. You know, you screw enough people, that's what happens, right? So Hillary Clinton screws one person, then Bill quite literally screws another person, and then Hillary screws another person. Yeah, I know I call Bill. You know what his nickname is. I don't know if y'all listen to my podcast, but my new nickname for Bill is Pimpin' Clinton. I call him Bootstrap Bill Pimpin' Clinton. But they stepped on one person after the other, and they thought that none of that would come back to bite them in the ass when they needed everybody to cooperate the most. I mean, I would figure that's something that you would account for if you're smart. But once again, what's my motto, people? You don't have to be smart to be a politician. You don't have to be intelligent to be in the intelligence community. You just got to be corrupt enough. You got to be willing to sacrifice enough. And they are sacrifice your integrity, I mean. And they're more than willing to. But people have very long memories. And eventually, once again, people's conscience and their individual integrities kick in, much like what we have been seeing is random surge of integrity within the FBI, the random transparency, seemingly random transparency that we're all experiencing now, and that we're all really benefiting from. Think about it like this. This article that I'm about to show you all, and this story I'm about to share with you all, think about it like this. It took all of one person, people. If he didn't say anything to us, if he never went live with his information, if he never revealed as much as he decided to, it would have dramatically changed the outcome of any hopes that we could have had of holding Clinton accountable. And you're going to understand what I mean in a second. One person decided to do the right thing. Not for Trump, not because of Clinton, but because they were truly the definition of a patriot. It's very interesting to see how being in like an impossible situation can bring out either the best of somebody or the worst of somebody. And this is one of those situations where I truly, truly believe that being put in a situation where the fate of your country is potentially on the line and the fate of their future is on the line, he stepped up and did the right thing. So I want to read to you this article really fast about the Uranium 1 informant who decided to go on a snitching extravaganza. An FBI informant involved in a controversial Uranium 1 deal has told congressional committees that Moscow paid millions to a U.S. lobbying firm in a bid to influence then Secretary of State Clinton by helping former President Bill Clinton's charities during the Obama administration. The Hill first reported late Wednesday that informant Douglas Campbell gave a 10-page statement to the Senate Judiciary Committee, House Intelligence Committee, and House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and was interviewed for several hours behind closed doors by committee staff. In the statement obtained by Fox News, Campbell said Russian executives told him Moscow was hiring APCO worldwide in an effort to influence the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton. Interesting. You know what's funny about that, people? We've been hearing about Trump-Russia collusion for how long? It's been like, what, a year and a half now? A year and a half? Maybe a little bit longer than that at this point. It's been over a year and a half. A year and a half. So we had all these FBI agents, right? All these informants overseas, all these people coming out. We have people getting arrested over Uranium 1 right now still because of all the information our overseas informants had. And y'all can't find one piece of evidence in a year and a half with the special investigator and all the resources of the FBI at your disposal, all the resources of the CIA. And you know, the CIA is a different type of intelligence because they create resources. They don't really have resources. I really be thinking that CIA is not as competent of an organization as they claim to be. I think that they're actually they're just really good at propaganda and they're not really good at finding intelligence. They're good at finding intelligence, if you catch my drift. If we don't have any intelligence and we need that land or those resources, we just gonna create some intelligence and we gonna go take your shit. That's pretty much what we do. Flo Moran on Facebook. We don't. She's. Or, I don't know if you were he or a she, but we're gonna go with a she. It says now we are tribes. Resist. No. We don't resist here. We are proactive. We don't use the resist term because that is a passive aggressive a term of victimization. We don't respond when we are pushed. We respond before we are pushed so that we can proactively prevent change from happening that is unwelcome. So we don't resist. We push. We fight forward. We're not reactive. I get what you're saying, but I like to correct that because it's important. Words matter, right? I think we all agree with that. Words matter, and there's a reason that the establishment chose the term resist over revolution. I'm a revolutionary. I'm not a resistor. I ain't never resisted shit but the cops. And even then, I was a little proactive. That's how you get stopped from being shot when you're black. Just letting y'all know. You got to be proactive when it comes to cops, not reactive. The statement obtained by Fox News from Campbell said that Russian executives told him that Moscow was hiring the APCO worldwide. And said that Russian nuclear officials told me at various times they expected APCO to apply a portion of the $3 million annual lobbying fee it was receiving from the Russians to provide an in-kind support for the Clintons' global initiative. Oh my, that almost sounds like Russian collusion. Interesting. For those of you who are on the radio right now, I'm doing my Dr. Evil pinky to my mouth. I don't have my cat here, but he wouldn't sit still long enough to make it work. So you just have to imagine it. But everybody else can see it. So if you're not on Twitter or Facebook, you need to follow me there too. Shameless plug. Anyway, the contract called for 4 months of $750,000 over 4 payments, of $750,000 over the course of 12 months. Wow. Campbell said this, okay? APCO is expected to give assistance free of charge to the Clinton Global Initiative as part of their effort to create a favorable environment to ensure the Obama administration made affirmative decisions on everything from Uranium 1 to U.S.-Russia civilian nuclear cooperation agreement. What the fuck? People, okay, so I covered this earlier, but I did not see that earlier. People, I don't know if y'all... Do y'all know what this article and what this man who is in the article, who worked for the FBI, was an informant for the FBI who's pretending like they don't know what the hell's going on? This guy who works for the FBI for about 4 decades, by the way, always talking to Russia. He's been here this whole time. And he just said pretty explicitly, yeah, the Clintons and the entire Obama administration, which I'll explain a little bit later, but the entire Obama administration colluded with Russia. What? The whole premise, once again, I know some people are probably tired of hearing this by now because I sound like a broken record, but I got to. But the whole premise of the whole Russian argument, right, with Trump is illegitimate business ties and money laundering schemes. They will prefer Trump to Hillary Clinton. How do you come to that conclusion? Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and the Russians, which is a little fucking xenophobic, by the way. I despise when the mainstream media and the establishment media goes out of its way to just label anyone who has any connection with any type of Russian anything, the Russians. It's McCarthyistic. It's McCarthyism. It's McCarthyism. It's Red Scare, communist Russia, communist this, communist that. It's the same thing. Are you Russian? What the fuck does that? What's that supposed to mean? That's the same thing they say about me. Well, not me. I wouldn't lie then. But like, you're friends with that black guy? Are you black? Are you one of those? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it sounds like. I have a lot of Russian friends. Russian descent friends. But that's not It's like what is Islamophobia, people. That's why I think I get a little bit pissed off about it, because it goes south fast, right? It goes south fast when you start just generally labeling people and trying to assert what type of person they are based off of their ethnicity, their nationality, etc., etc. And that's where we're at with the Russia thing. I won't get too off track. We don't got that much time. But in a statement to Fox News, APCO called Campbell's assertions false and unfounded. No, I don't believe that. So then they started talking about Uranium One. Uranium One is a Canadian mining company whose sale to Russia's firm was approved in 2010. The U.S. government was involved because the sale gave the Russians control of part of the Uranium One supply. The transaction has faced renewed scrutiny after The Hill reported last year that they think that that's what it was. They think that the 2017 article where The Hill finally caught up to every other independent journalist for the last 3 years was what renewed all of the scrutiny. We've been scrutinizing. Y'all ain't been prioritizing. That's what the damn problem is. You need to keep up. Maybe if you fix your fucking algorithms and stop screwing over independent journalists trying to suppress our goddamn messages, y'all would have been on this. Now, y'all behind. Fox News pretend like they've been on this. Y'all ain't been on it. We've been on it. Shout out to my indie journalists. Anyway, Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill want to know how the deal was approved following the year by an interagency committee. Now, here's where it gets fun. Now, I don't know if you all recall a video that I did talking about Clinton's Uranium One deal, and it was a very, very long and detailed video. And essentially the video was a summary, because it was entitled, I have proof that, or there is proof, and I'm confident that the Clintons are at the top of the list of this sealed indictment. And essentially, in that video, I said that the Obama administration knew about this. And I said that because a lot of stories have reported, but because of the secrecy and the classification of the report, of the people, they decided at that time to remain anonymous. But I said but multiple sources reported that the Obama administration knew. I didn't know how bad it was. I thought maybe they knew there was some corruption and they just didn't, respond. Or maybe it was I don't know. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, I try to be very critical of things like that. Oh, but it wasn't. The benefit of the doubt is it's so out the window now. It's not even funny. Look at this shit. Look at this shit right here, guys. The Russians, this is Mr. Campbell speaking again. The Russians were so confident that they told Mr. Campbell that with the Clintons' help, it was a shoo-in to get the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States approval. This was a statement by Campbell's lawyer. Tosing said on Hannity. So that's the lawyer's name, Tosing. They were so confident in that they even had him open up a new office because they were planning on the kind of business they were going to do as soon as that Uranium One deal was approved. Y'all, I can't help but think back to all those times when they were like, this is just a nothing burger. This is just a nothing burger. I don't know. Jan, don't be sad. You say Clinton is worse than the Cheeto head. Yeah, of course. I totally agree with you. Trump is incompetent. I fear Trump like I fear a blind dog. You can bark as loud as you want to, but you're still not going to get me. And you're going to keep barking louder because you think that's going to help, but it's not. You're still not going to be able to catch me. So that's how I feel about Trump. Clinton, however, is a lot more dangerous for the reasons think about it. I don't know if y'all have caught on to this. How many philosophers I have. How many people I know like that like to read philosophy? Any of y'all ever read The Prince by Machiavelli? Because if you haven't noticed, the Democrats have essentially taken on one of the principles that Machiavelli supposedly told to this prince, which is you blame the other side for anything that you are guilty of that can be used against you. Now, what Machiavelli did not tell the fucking Clintons, clearly in the Democratic Party, is that you can't blame the other side for 150,000 different things in the middle of social media when you still have informants that have gone unchecked and you have no idea what they're going to say. They didn't say that part. Apparently, that was in the subtext. If you know, you get the one when they say blame other people. It was like a one. It's a look at the bottom of the page. Don't do this shit in 2018 when everyone can see what you're doing and you're doing 150,000 different things that you've started doing since 1990. And then they reference you to the back where the glossary is. What the fuck is stupid things? Past uranium deals with your biggest enemy as a superpower. Like all that shit was in Machiavelli the Prince. I just got a copy of it. I promise you it's in the back. If you don't see it, you might not have the deluxe copy. I get the deluxe edition. Okay. But that's what it says. It says that but no, not seriously, but it's implied. But that's seriously what they're doing is legitimate, like Machiavelli tactics. It's blame the other. You want to, if you want to know, like every time you hear like a random accusation, I'm not sure all the Democrats are hip to this. Okay, like Dianne Feinstein, I think she's a dummy. Like the constant dumacity that her and Nancy Pelosi displays is like hilarious. But specifically Feinstein, because I feel like Feinstein is one of those Democrats who swear to God they are in the loop on everything, and they're really not. Like she thinks she's part of the cool Democrat club, but she isn't. Like it's almost like Kirsten Gillibrand. I feel like that's Kirsten Gillibrand as well. Like she thinks she's in the cool kids club, but she's not at the same time. Hell, Bernie's in the cool kids club more than they are. And I know they hate it, but it's facts. It's life. So they got to get over it. But think about it. I mean, they said, because they took it to the extreme, right? So at first, it was because the Clintons and the DNC clearly rigged the elections, right? So they blamed the Russians at first for rigging the elections. They were the ones who leaked the emails. Okay, that's a really weird thing to do, but it wasn't weird, but it was weird because I was like, this is so stupid. Nobody's going to believe, oh my God, people are buying this shit. Ain't this some bullshit? I'm like, motherfucker, where have y'all been at? Bruh, you know how many people didn't even start paying attention to the election until somebody said Russia, and people are like, what? Russia? Where? Oh shit, Soviet Union's back. It's insane to me. Do you all remember? I mean, I don't really remember it that well because I wasn't really born yet. But y'all remember in the 70s and the 80s, it was the left who had to protect, the intelligence community, or not the intelligence community, the intelligent left community from the propaganda that was being spread about citizens of Russia and Korea. I mean, everybody in Cuba. Like, once again, I hate that people confuse the Russian government or the Israeli government or the Venezuelan government with the actual people and what they desire, because it is not the same thing. But we were the ones who protected against the type of slander and xenophobia that we've been experiencing, and it's totally flipped. We were the ones who used to question the FBI. We were the ones who used to question the CIA. Remember, we didn't listen to them. We did not. We were the ones who were like, yeah, the CIA probably definitely killed Kennedy because he definitely gave a speech talking about shadow governments and then he was dead. And yeah, some people say he was killed by the mafia. The mafia having a hitman that can have access to a roof that knows the exact route that JFK is going to take. Yeah. And without getting seen, you didn't, come on. But that's the stuff we used to question. That's the stuff that we used to talk about, and that's not like that anymore. But they blame Russia for the election fraud. We know goddamn well it was. We know it was, right? Okay, we know that. We're good. We're good on there. So then what happens? The fake news, remember? Russia is spreading fake news about Hillary Clinton. But if you have been active on social media, and shout out to all of my burners who are in like the 150,000 burner groups, you know, that used to exist, but now it's down to like 75,000 burner groups on Facebook that exist now because of those fake Russia bots. But because the people who were on Facebook, they saw it. They saw what happened. They were literally going into the group and spreading fake news. They were spreading lies. They were spreading the lies about Bernie Sanders' tax plan. Bernie Sanders has the best tax plan. Yes. Even for libertarians. Yeah, I mean, well, for libertarians, you know, no plan's good enough. But it's like, no taxes for anybody. Figure it out. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, they were lying about Bernie's tax plans. They were lying about his healthcare plans. They were lying about things that he said about Hillary Clinton. They were saying that he was bullying Hillary Clinton. I mean, the list can go on. They were lying about the Bernie Bros thing. They lied about all that. They were like, Bernie Bros are doing all the things that actually Hillary Clinton neoliberals are actually saying. They like, it literally, I mean, think of something else. The collusion with Trump. Russia colluded with Trump because his business interests would make it easy for them to blackmail him and he would do their bidding. Except for what they didn't fucking tell you was that Hillary's business interests are more significant. Her chief of staff had business interests in Russia that were more significant. They got 20%. There's no more fucking, that's damn near the most important business interest you could have. 20% of your uranium just went gone like that. And guess what? It turns out they bought the fucking uranium to help Iran. I don't have a problem with Iran personally, but I'm saying from a foreign policy, foreign strategy, you know, like national security standpoint, if you're a president or a secretary of defense, and especially because you're fear mongering using Iran all the time, that's a big fucking problem. And, you know, according to the left, every single oligarch in Russia worked for Putin. And it turns out this whole goddamn time, according to the informant who was in charge of all this stuff, it turns out that it was Hillary Clinton. What a motherfucking surprise. Now, think about this. Remember how they said recently, oh, it's the Russia bots that were pushing the release the memo shit. Remember that? I was on Twitter. It wasn't no Russian. I'm not Russian. I don't speak the Russian. I don't think I do anyway. Do I look Russian? Are there black Russians? Are there black Russians? For real, are there black Russians, people? I don't know. I've never met a black Russian in my life. It's like, you know how like a lot of different races or ethnicities, you could be like, oh, there's a black, like, British person. I would believe that because that's just the way the world works. I ain't never met a black Russian. I ain't never met a black Ukrainian. I met a black Turkish person. But I have never met a black Russian. So I'm not Russian. I don't think y'all are Russian. I have some Russian friends that are on Twitter, but, you know, they probably have a right to be worried about their country being lied on. I'm sure their families are, you know, a little nervous that we're going to go to nuclear war over some bullshit. So, but you remember they said the Russian bots. I want y'all to remember something. During the 2016 election, there's only one person who owns a lot of companies who employed artificial bots to spread fake news. And that was David Brock, Hillary's little puppet who owns Media Matters. And it was only one person that employed Google to fuck with the algorithms to make it seem like they were more popular and less detrimental than the other candidate. And that was, once again, Hillary Clinton. You know, it was even more interesting. We even found out during the election that anybody, especially the intelligence community, has the ability to make it look like any IP address can come from any country. So if they wanted to fabricate it to make it look like it came from Russia, well, first of all, you wouldn't need an intelligence agency to do that. It's simple. That's anybody who knows anything about IP addresses or coding or anything like that could do that. Could make it look like it was coming from Russia. People used to do that to when Pirate Bay and all the movie pirating was super popular back in the day. That's what they did. So you don't think that David Brock could, you know, flood the internet just in time for the memo to release, to have a bunch of things say release the memo and then be like, yeah, it was a bunch of Russians. I mean, once again, let's look at the pattern. Everything they've accused the other side of, they have been totally guilty of. You know, there are people who believe that Hillary Clinton was being bullied during the primary election. I don't know what when I see that shit, I'm like, Y'all know how many times I yelled at the screen at Bernie Sanders for not holding that bitch accountable when it was time during those debates? And you got the nerve talking about some shit. She was going easy on him, and he bullied her, that sexist old bastard. I was calling him an old bastard when he wasn't holding her accountable, but it was for a different reason. I was like, you better fucking, she's a murderer! She's a murderer! Hang that bitch on the stage, Bernie! She's a fucking murderer! Like, that's what I was saying. People, I was still in college, by the way. Go UNC. Don't tell me the score. I don't want to know anything about what's going on at UNC Duke right now. I'm not watching the scores. I'm going to watch the game tomorrow because I have to be on my show tonight. So don't even. And if you're a Duke fan, get off my channel. I'm just kidding. If you're a Duke fan, you're welcome. But if you say anything about Duke, especially if you're beating us right now, we're going to have consequences and repercussions, okay? Seriously. But yeah. So that's the moral of the story is, people, this FBI informant said that he actually told the Obama administration long before the deal got approved. He actually told them about this in 2010, people. 2010. And that's whenever the original committee signed off on it. Now, once again, he said that the Obama administration was made aware of it. It wasn't, by the way, people, he sat in with President Obama in a daily classified briefing, multiple daily classified briefings. So Obama was directly aware of it, and he still allowed his administration to approve this. So you know what that means? It gives us some explanations, doesn't it? We've been trying to figure out why Obama, it seems like so diametrically different than who he was before he got elected. Once again, you can learn a lot about somebody's past, and Obama's kind of a paradox because he's one of those weird situations where his past doesn't match up with his presidency. We knew who Bill was. Bill was a fucking sexual predator, dickhead, neocon, neoliberal. Like, we knew all that, right? We knew that Trump was a megalomaniac, sexual predator. I mean, damn, that seemed like a very common term for presidents that we're describing in the last 2 decades. That's kind of disturbing. And no impeachments, but a lot of sexual predators behavior. That's kind of weird. No impeachments, but sexual predatory behavior. Okay, that's not okay. You figure we would have got 2 out of 3 with that? Nah, it's not a thing anymore. Like, we don't expect the president to not be a sexual predator, just kind of being normalized at this point. Okay, whatever. But Trump, we knew he was a megalomaniac. We knew he was a sexual predator. We knew he was a dickhead. We knew he was a con man. We knew he was a finesse guy. We knew all of that before he became president, and he's once again reasserting it. We knew who Hillary Clinton was before she became president. We knew who Hillary Clinton was before she became Secretary of State. Her actions were indicative of that then, and it was representative of who she is now. Obama was a human rights attorney, though, so it's a little bit different. Obama was a human rights attorney, and so for me, that changes because he wasn't the breadwinner in his house, people. Michelle was. Michelle was the multimillionaire. He worked for, like, comparatively pennies on the dollar. Like, even with his stocks, he was only worth $200,000. So that was all of his assets, and that's with his wife bringing home the bacon. So this would explain it. He allowed something like this to take place under his administration. It's with the legal practices. He made him aware of all the what's his name? Doug made everything aware. Doug Campbell made everybody aware in the administration, and the Russians were so sure that committee was going to pass it that they already started setting up an office. Boy. Oh, my goodness. This is awesome. 2018, baby. It's our year. But speaking of the Russia discussion, so I'm sure you all know Cenk from TYT. Most of you all do not like him, and I totally get why. He debated Kyle Kalinske. Now, he's the host of the show Secular Talk. I'm a fan of Kyle, right? I think he's a very intelligent guy. I had some reservations about him. I think it's probably by virtue of him being part of TYT and creating Justice Democrats. But I even probably realize now more than back then that it was probably hijacked. I don't think he likes Cenk that much at all. So him and Cenk actually had a debate about the Russia argument, right? Kyle dragged him through the dirt. It was bad. In a nice way. He's nicer than me though. So, you know, when he was talking, he was very respectful. And Cenk actually kind of crossed the line a couple of times. He said that something that Kyle said, which was factual. Like it was a fact about some of the foreign affairs things that Trump had taken part in, but it was not to be confused. Like you can't automatically equate one thing with another without some type of logical connection. And he was like, "That's crazy talk." And like Kyle's face was like, "Excuse me?" And then Cenk was like, "Oh, my bad. I shouldn't have said that." Seriously, that's what happened. It was actually, I was like, "Oh shit, it's about to get real, people." But nah, he ended up he stepped back a little bit. But Kyle, my reservation about Kyle is that I felt like he focused too much sometimes on Trump and not enough on what's happening in with the investigation stuff. And I realized today why that is. Because he actually feels the same way about Trump that I do. Trump has so many things you can legitimately get him on. Like having businesses in multiple foreign countries that just got passed down to his kids, enriching his family, enriching himself, selling weapons in Saudi Arabia while they simultaneously use those weapons to commit a genocide in Yemen. The money laundering, which would be easy to get him on. Things, I mean, him selling out to sell out the Americans. Those are things that we need to have covered. And because there are people like myself who cover the corruption within the administrations and the campaigns and things like that, and I think that it's he's especially because his audience is somewhat neoliberal mixed with progressive. And he does cover some of the corruption, but he doesn't cover as much as I do or somebody in my lane would. And that's fine because we need people to shine a light on Trump as well, especially given what's been going on recently. And Kyle he kind of won me over 100% after watching him debate Cenk. He's 100% on our side, 100% not compromised, totally different from TYT. I would even venture to say in some ways that that he is even more rational than Jimmy is. And Kyle's a nerd, right? He's kind of like me, but a white Jewish version. So he's like a super nerd, and he's ridiculously objective, like myself, like to a fault, right? He said same thing. He was like, if something, a good policy came from something, you know, bad, then that's fine. We're okay with that. Like same thing with Hillary. He's like, yeah, the Democrats are bad and they gave us Trump, and so now because of that we don't have Hillary, so that's a good thing, right? And we can take care of Trump too. We don't have to do one or the other. We can be happy about one thing not happening and then still take care of the results of that situation, like we had with the election of 2016, which I think we're doing. But Kyle was like, no, you can't just automatically equate money laundering as the reason that Trump colluded with Russia to hack the election. Like, fuck. And that Cenk kept trying to push that. That was his whole argument, was the money laundering, of course. And every time like Kyle would hit him with logic and a fact, Cenk would say, well, what did he meet with this person for? What did he take this money for? I'm like, okay, I thought this was a debate. If you don't, in a debate, if you're going to make a claim that someone colluded with another country to hack an election, or even, let's not even say hack, to influence it. Got it, okay? Totally get you. Once again, Kyle and I were lockstep. Okay, but he probably laundered money with Russia. Yeah, he's a crooked billionaire. 100% agree. Let's. Why don't we discuss that then? Yeah, but I mean, he was like, okay, but what about Israel? What about Saudi Arabia? What about Qatar? those countries all paid Trump and Hillary. And Russia did too, clearly. So why aren't we discussing that? Oh, well, he's the president now. And he's like, okay, so why didn't Comey investigate him on that and focus on those things, which he should have focused on even during the Obama administration, but, Trump's in office right now. So why not focus? If you want, okay, my thing is y'all pretend once again that, or y'all forget, I should say, that this is the Pied Piper candidate. They wanted a Trump because they thought it would be easier to take him out because of how much corruption he's involved in. The problem is it's not working out exactly how they thought it would. But on the other side of that, if they start focusing on substantive issues, if they accidentally get Trump impeached faster than they were originally expecting, then they have to start dealing with the issues, right? They got to start dealing with policies. Nancy Pelosi can't sit on the fucking stage for 8 hours or stand up on her feet for 8 hours and bloviate about whatever and pretend like she gives a shit about Dreamers. She would actually have to pass legislation on Dreamers. By the way, people, I don't know if you realize this, but as much effort as they have been doing to pretend like they care about Dreamers, they probably could have passed legislation to secure their freedom and their citizenship here and create a legitimate path to citizenship for not only Dreamers, but everybody else. It could have done all of that in the 5, 6, 7 months that they have been discussing it. Because they keep saying, we won't let Republicans, hurt Dreamers. Okay, then fucking write some legislation to stop that from happening. I don't see what the problem is. We're waiting. Nah, I think I'm just going to stand on my feet for 8 hours and talk about literally nothing instead. That's what we're dealing with. So the Democrats don't want to address substantive policy. That's what Russia is about. Partially. Hillary, it's about, I got to convince these people that Trump's the one guilty or I'm going to fucking jail. Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be awesome. Oh, y'all might see me. I might have an early retirement party. If Hillary Clinton goes to jail, I might throw an early retirement party, y'all. Technically, I have retired from my first job. I retired from the military. But I might retire from... I'm just kidding. I'm not going to retire because the next criminal needs to be held accountable. And best believe there's always another criminal. You can start holding some of these local politicians accountable. Start holding some of these international criminals accountable. We going to holding everybody. We snitching on everybody. But this is gold. Now, really quick before I go, I do want to let everybody know, especially if you're a Trump supporter and you're watching me right now, your boy's part of the deep state and y'all need to get the fuck over it. I don't want to be negative, but Donald Trump announced today that he was meeting with Henry Kissinger once again. I don't know if you all remember what happened. I did an episode on this, but actually, the first time I did an episode on Henry Kissinger, Twitter marked it sensitive content, wouldn't show it. Facebook totally censored that episode. Whereas I would normally get 2,500 to 3,000 views on a video within the week, it got like 600. Nobody interacted with it. But the last time Donald Trump met with Henry Kissinger, which they asked, Henry, why you want to meet with Trump? Oh, I want to sit down and we discuss how to go forward with the New World Order. I'm not joking. That is not an exaggeration. That is actually what he said. And when that happened, we went back into Syria. When that happened, oh, God damn it. Sorry, everybody. Oh, man, UNC just won, though. Ha! Turn up. Y'all just got to see me celebrate live because UNC, go UNC, Tar Heel Nation, University of National Champions. Yeah. Okay, anyway, back to serious, Niko. Yeah, we invented Syria. We sold weapons to Saudi Arabia. They've been killing Yemenis people. Everything you can think of that we were fearful of Hillary doing, Trump has now been doing ever since that first meeting with Henry Kissinger. And now they're back. And there are people on Twitter who are defending this. It's keep your enemies closer. Y'all, I don't know if y'all know this. Henry Kissinger is everybody's enemy. You don't keep Henry Kissinger closer. Henry Kissinger is a cancer that won't stop until he engulfs the entire world in his just devil-like fire. It's like hellfire that he has every fucking country he touches. He is death. He is walking death. I'm not joking. There is no outthinking Henry Kissinger. Trump does not know how to play mind games with anybody, let alone the master at it. Okay? Henry Kissinger is an evil, maniacal, oh God, I don't understand how people are defending this. You don't know if he's part of the deep state. First of all, if you don't know he's part of the deep state at this point, you haven't been paying attention to foreign policy. You so wrapped up in build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, back up. The tax bill saved me $10 on my taxes for this 2 weeks. Meanwhile, $22 million on a fucking march. Do you know who does things like that? North Korea, Soviet Russia, Nazi Germany, Communist China. I mean, we can go down the list, but you get my point. They do that when we're about to do some fucked up shit and they want to distract you for it. That's what happens. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and finish up, and I urge you all to follow American Freedom Radio if you have not. Make sure you join that One Follow $1 campaign as well. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace. Hey, sorry about that. I definitely forgot that my sound was off.
No worries. Hey, you know what? You record the show, right?
Yeah, I record it.